I started making lo-fi just for fun, and I kept sending it to my friends who were still in HAWSER, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, we want to put it on the record as an interlude." I was like, "But why?"
Thanks everyone for tuning in. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. We travel literally across the pond. It's noon here and it's the evening over there on in the UK side. But we chat today with Boy and Bart from the band. Is it HAWSER? I should have asked that before we started going there. Gotcha. Well, thanks for joining me on the podcast today, guys. Really excited to chat.
Thanks for inviting us.
Of course. Appreciate it. So, for the folks at home who might be listening or watching who might not know who you are, can you give a proper introduction of the band you're a part of, where you guys are based, and what you guys both specifically do in the band?
HAWSER started in 2012. The band is based in Rotterdam, and the band was started by our singer Stijn and a couple of other dudes, including him. And there were a couple of lineup changes. Basically, our singer is the only original member, but we're still HAWSER.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and for anyone of the audio listeners, we got some homies in the back who might make an appearance later on. So we'll have to see where this episode goes. So before you guys officially get started here, something that is a reoccurring segment here on the podcast is the Scoped Exposure Bev Check. So I guess you guys have your bevs all down pat and ready to go. I have a mash. It's called a mashed grapefruit citrus zing. It's the closest drink that I could get that's close to mosh, which is how I feel when I listen to your guys' music.
Nice.
So I was saving it. What's that?
Is it alcohol or what is it?
No, it's a sparkling fruit drink is what they call it.
Grapefruit or grapefruit?
Yeah, grapefruit. I've had the orange one, but the grapefruit one we're gonna give a go today. So what do you guys got on your side?
I got a Hertog Jan beer. It's in my opinion the best Dutch beer. Like Heineken sucks. Mm-hmm. So this is my go-to beer, and it's Friday night, so
Boy, that's the cheapest thing available.
Yeah. I got a cheap one at the store here. Like the cheap beer for €1 or something.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm smoking a big fat bong in the back here, just so you know. Flaming hot Cheetos.
Yeah, I saw Bart's story just before we got going here, and you're just vibing with the Cheetos in the bong. So.
The hot Cheetos.
Oh, the hot Cheetos. Yeah. Cool. Well, Boy and Bart, how I start all of these podcasts is just get a proper introduction on how people got into hardcore, because I think that really matters as far as the albums and bands that you first were listening to. So let's go back in time. Maybe Boy, we'll start with you first, and you just mention how you got into heavier music.
I got into heavy music. I had back in the days. I had my stepdad, and he was playing always metal music and that kind of stuff. And I thought oh, what the fuck is this shit? Because you're a little kid and stuff like that. And he's playing also drums. And I don't know. I don't know how to say it because my English is fucked. But something is inside me wants to play the drums also, and love the music. So I don't know what it started, but maybe with the first band I listened to was Slipknot.
Yeah.
And Slipknot definitely, yeah. And after that, like I don't know, like biohazard kind of stuff. But yeah,
What was your first hardcore show?
my first hardcore show. Oof.
Long time ago.
I like how Bart's just taking over the questions.
Sorry, man.
That's a good
No,
question.
you're good. You're good.
So,
You can't remember?
no, I remember. I think it was Air on Air with Madball or something.
Madball, yeah.
Yeah,
Always
I think
good.
it was that. Yeah.
Well, my introduction to hardcore was well, when I was like 12, I was like listening to metal and stuff. And when I got like 17 or 18, a friend of mine took me to a rehearsal show, and that trap also played, and it was my first hardcore show in like a 2x2 room. It was fucking crazy, and I just went like, yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
It kind of got stuck from there, I guess.
Yeah, there's something about those really close, intimate, like too small for a regular normal person show where either you're just like, am I in the right place? But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I am in the right place. This is the sickest shit. Yeah, well, that's very, very cool. You know, some of those bands that you guys were both mentioning, like I've heard those reoccurring. So it's definitely cool how a lot of, you know, maybe at the time and you look at now is like more metal bands, but like some of the early Slipknot material was like, this is very close to being like a hardcore record, or at least the stuff that people took from it.
Yeah.
Machine Head is like the perfect example.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
kind of band, because that first record is just straight up hardcore. Like, really.
Definitely, man. Yeah.
So you guys were mentioning there's been a number of lineup changes with HAWSER, but can you kind of tell me the formation of how that band came together? And you guys have been around for a minute, put out a plethora of material. I definitely am gonna get to the newest record, but tell me on how the band actually came together and started.
Do you know that?
Herman!
Spill the beans!
Well, okay. Story time. So,
Introduce yourself at
Yeah.
for the folks at home.
I'm Ruben, and I was one of the first four in the band.
Gotcha.
And the band was actually put together by Patrick, who left the first. And Patrick was a guy who was already in bands, and so he took like 3 young guys under his wings, and he was putting together a band. And I didn't know him at the time. I didn't know the drummer at the time. I just knew Stein, the singer, who's still in the band. And Patrick, he asked Stein to play bass, and Stein was like, "No, I want to do vocals." So that he took up vocals, and then Patrick was like, "Okay, do you know a guy who can play bass?" And that's when he contacted me. And yeah, so but Patrick, he already had a lot of touring experience, and he knew some people around Europe who were putting up shows. So that's how he booked like the first tour, I guess. Yeah, it was really like all Patrick's idea, and we didn't know how to like be a band. Like we know how to play our instruments, but we didn't know anything after that.
Yeah.
So he just took us on the road, and after a year or so of writing songs, I think the first time we went to a practice space, it was like, yeah, just learn
What is it called? Outlive from Guns Up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like one of the easiest songs to like play in hardcore again. So it was like, okay, just learn the song, and then we'll go into a practice space, and then we'll see what happens. And then after a year or so of playing together and doing like some local shows, we wrote a record, which is the 7-inch that we put out ourselves, which is called Shallow Earth, which is you can still find it on YouTube, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's buried a little
Yeah, it's
bit.
a 10-inch, yeah.
But then, yeah.
because Patrick was into obscure stuff, so he wouldn't attend. And yeah, we went on from that. We met the guys from Risk It in Germany on the release weekend there that we did. I think it was the first time we went to Germany. We hopped on a couple of shows, and they were on that show. And I think we really hit it off, and we were able to do the first like real full length on Thomas's label, which is Feral Records.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where we then you do a first tour, which was with the Italians from The Words I Never Said, which is more like a like post-hardcore, maybe even metalcore kind of band.
And you did a True Spirit tour.
Yeah, but that was way after that.
Oh, way after that.
Like and then you do a first tour and you meet a lot of people and you go on from that. So that's kind of how we went. But it was really like we didn't have much else. Like I was doing school, like most of us were doing school, and we're like, oh, this is not really my thing, school. So I might just like take up a job and go really at this music thing that I'm really liking. So I don't know. We didn't have much perspective in life, no goals or whatever. And then Patrick came on our road, and it was like, okay, let's give this thing a go. It's really fun, and yeah, I don't know. I was just a kid at a skate park listening to like punk rock, and then some guys from the skate park took me to a hardcore show, and that was the first thing I did. Yeah. And then I went to like more hardcore shows, and then I met Stein, and through Stein I met Patrick, and I don't know. I think it's a similar story for everyone. You meet someone who is into this thing called hardcore, and he takes you on a show, and
yeah, it's like it's going on and on and on.
Yeah, and it kind of escalated from there.
Yeah, it's pretty funny on how you're going to get a coffee or you're just walking down the street and you'll see someone with like a Slipknot shirt or like a Slayer shirt, and you're like, I'm pretty sure if like I had an hour of this person's time and they were just captive to listen to all this like metal or like even hardcore music, like you said, like all it takes is like, hey, come to this show or come see this event, and then it's like the culture kind of swallows you in the best way possible, just surrounded by all these new friends and just energy. So yeah, it's definitely something that I miss, and I'm sure all you guys miss in the midst of all this stuff going on in the world. Yeah.
So yeah, combine that with being a young kid who doesn't really know what to do with his life, and you find someone who's like so inspiring and takes you on this huge adventure, and then you get swallowed in, and it snowballs from there. And that's basically how it happens, I guess.
Yeah, when you're young and you're like I think being impressionable in some cases is good because you can like actually absorb stuff and you're not like jaded to some ideas. So you're actually like, you get to a show and you're just like, oh, all these people are like punching each other and like people are jumping off the stage and like people are screaming into this mic and talking about these huge societal issues. It's just like there's so much cool stuff that hardcore offers, and I think I don't know if it's harder for people to get into it when they're later in life, when they're just like already established in a certain lifestyle or way of thinking, but when you're a kid, it's just like everything is so cool right off the bat. Yeah, definitely. So we're gonna, let's all give a round of applause to Ruben for jumping on here real quick. But let's fast forward a little bit to kind of September 2020. So that's kind of the release of your guys' latest record, All Is Forgiven, which is definitely in my, I would say like, it for sure in my top 10 for like records that were released this year for hardcore. So that came on Isolation Records. There's a bunch of specific tracks that I want to ask you guys some questions on, but just overall, what has been the response for that record? What has that record taken you guys like next step wise, and how was that releasing during a global pandemic?
Yeah, so the response of the record was like amazing. Like the first couple of days, we were just like swamped with like people saying like, "Yo, this shit is awesome," and we were like really flattered because we were working on this album for like 2 years or something, 2.5 years maybe, and we've heard it like so many times that we like, yeah, we've we heard it like 1,000 times by the time that it came out, and we were like, yeah, it's good, I guess. So nice to like hear that it's awesome, but releasing it now, it was kind of hard because the plan was to release it in May, and we had like set up like our own fest,
Okay.
and with like tons of bands that were all like friends of us, which would have been like the perfect release party for it.
Sure.
But then Corona happened, so that kind of sucked. But we also like gained some sort of momentum, and we kind of felt like, yo, we really can't like wait much longer to bring it out. So then we decided to do it in September, but it's still cool. It just sucks that it can't play any shows because it's like cool.
You want to show, you want to like the reaction of you playing.
Yeah, because
your show, you knew all of them, you know.
Yeah.
That sucks in this
and
Corona time, but
listening to hardcore like isn't really the same without the shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I always got into new bands after seeing them live, like most of the time. And if you've seen them live once and then you listen to their records after, you always have that like thing in your head, like
To reference it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird, but
Yeah, there's actually, sorry to cut you off really quick. I think that is a huge gap, and I was mentioning it to my drummer while we're on our way to band practice. Is like, nothing, live sets and live streams is all good and dandy, but nothing will replace the energy that you feel in a room when you're at a hardcore show. And as corny as that sound, it's so true. Like you can feel like the rage from the vocals. You can feel just like how hype people are like jumping off of stuff. There's like this element of danger at the same time. So all that being said, is like nothing will replace it. And I do agree that like I've gone to plenty of fests where I'm not really sure who this band is, and then I see them and I'm just like, okay, Prowl is my new favorite band. Like,
yeah.
so
yeah, it sucks that you have no response, you know, like if you're playing a show, you have always a response, and you can look at people and you feel it like, oh shit, yeah, it's nice, people like it or something like that. But now you have only
You get like
messages,
that.
messages, that's it. Just
yeah. Guys, give me 2 seconds. I just let the doggo out of the office.
Oh yeah.
Oh, like the dogs out.
Usually he just sleeps, but
Oh no, I'm chilling.
Thomas,
I'm wide awake. I'm hearing everything that's going on. Don't worry about me.
just zoom in on his face while he's like passed out.
I won't pass out at one point, but just so you know.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. There's no hate. So what was interesting too is this record was definitely the one that put me onto you guys. But when I went to kind of go look at your other releases, you guys have a plethora of other like LP releases. So are you guys just in that mode where it's like, new music is coming out and it's always going to be an LP? Because I think a lot of bands either get stuck in like here's 2-song promo, here's a 3-song EP. But you guys seem to consistently put out like full releases, and all the songs, at least off the new record, are like none feel like filler to me. So what's your thought process there on the writing side?
Yeah, it's like when we joined HAWSER, they already had like 2 records out. So for HAWSER, it was kind of contender to like put out another full album. And so yeah, when I joined the band in March 2018, we started writing for the third album. And yeah, like because it didn't make any sense to like put out 2 albums and like to do an EP after, like that wouldn't really make sense. And we also had the plan to like
To change label also. You know?
yeah, but when we were working on this album, we were also like, yeah, this really has to be like the next step up. So, and you can't really do that by like releasing an EP after an album.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that was the reason.
Yeah, that's the reason, I guess. And I don't know, when we start writing new shit again, it will probably be an album as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I share one point real quick about that? Because I just had a thought about that.
Sure, go ahead.
I think at one point I heard it mentioned, I think maybe 1 or 2 years ago, but there's also an idea that as a band, if you only drop full lengths, there's so much clout that comes with that. Where I think we all agree here, at least in our group of friends and bands that are in it, is that when you drop a full length, people just take you so much more seriously. It's such. When you have 2 records, it's just 2 fucking huge balls you can just throw on the table any meeting. You like, we got like this. We got
What an analogy! Wow.
It's like 2 full records. Like here's another third one, but it brings a pedigree with it. That's just so much more. It brings so much more weight to it than just being like one of those guys. Like here's a song, there's a song. You know, it's definitely, it works with the consumer culture that we have now, where you just constantly need like content. But I mean, looking at these guys for all these years, like it definitely brings with it a lot of clout. Yeah.
Yeah, but also you have if you drop an EP, you have like a little vibe of it.
Just a
But you
taste.
have an album, you have you can show more and
Exactly, a lot more diversity.
no vibe of an album is
Yeah,
important.
no, I definitely have to. I do agree with that. I think that there is, I don't think hardcore genre-wise has always been the mentality of there's no rules. Like there are certain things where it's like, oh, you want to drop your demo before you start playing shows, but like there's actually no rules to support that or enforce that. Like I've seen it multiple times where bands will do, a number of EPs, and then, maybe I'll just use Drain because I'm wearing their hat, but they did a 2-song promo to kind of show the new direction and vibe that they were going, and then, those 2 songs were on their full LP. On the totally other side of the coin, this band who are homies of mine from Minneapolis, they're called Rot, and they did a 2-song promo, so just 2 songs, and then they did a whole LP after that. So I think that's cool to see, not always be surprised when bands are doing new stuff, like, oh, this band is only releasing LPs. That's really sick. This band is doing like an LP and then did like a split with like this random band that's not even in hardcore. So I think always being able to test those things and just see what works for your band. But I do agree that there is a level of, I guess, professionalism of like, okay, we're going in here to do 8 to 12 songs in one stint. So
I will have to say, like, for quick comparison, like Death Trap with my band, we were so eager to get on stage, just play and have fun and just fucking go at it and like do all this cool shit. And we didn't record a demo until like fucking a year and a half, maybe 2 years into our career. And I feel like if we would have gone the HAWSER way and just like consistently start aiming on full lengths, I feel like we would be at a higher level than we are now. So there's that.
Yeah, no, it's the same way for my band, and I don't mean to plug my own band during this podcast, but like
Do it.
I want to hear it. What's up?
we're called Endgame for the everyone who listens to the podcast knows that.
Oh,
But,
I didn't know it. Okay.
oh, you guys know about that? Yeah,
We just devil on it, right?
yeah. The little devil flipping up. Yeah. But we started that band it was almost like I forced us to start playing shows because I was putting on a benefit show for Scoped, and I was like, I need another band to play this show because like we were just strapped at that time locally. So we played our first show then. I think we played maybe 3 or 4 after, and we were like, okay, like let's hit the studio, start recording, and then COVID hit, so that like delayed things. But then we put that out in August. So even though a lot of bands are coming now where they recorded new material, but they haven't had the chance yet to play those songs live, we've played all those songs live, and there's videos to kind of showcase that. So it's kind of interesting on how a lot of people were like, oh, you should really put this demo out before you play shows, but no one foresaw this whole change of the landscape in the world as far as playing shows goes.
Yeah, but I also feel like that a lot of people in bands like put like pressure on it, but like at the end of the day, it's hardcore music, so
Yeah.
who cares, you know? Like just
Yeah.
There's no pressure.
Yeah, hardcore is supposed to be fun through and through. So, yeah, definitely ease up on the pressure side of those things. So I got some favorite tracks from All's Forgiven, and a couple that I definitely want to ask some questions on because I feel like there are certain ones that I was like, when I did my first listen through, I was like, I could have never expected a track like this is going to be on it. But do you guys have any specific favorite tracks and why on this last record?
Well, my favorite track from All Is Forgiven is probably the title track because it's like the only song that has like a poppy chorus.
Okay.
And I really like the vibe of that chorus. And yeah, it's just like it's not really hardcore, but it's like really subtle. So I kind of feel like that we can get away with it.
Right.
But yeah, when we were writing that song and we were having like a writing weekend, and I showed up at our guitarist's place, and he and Stein like just made that chorus, and they showed it to me, and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck? This is huge."
Yes, some hardcore bands just need that like Billboard Top 40, just like chorusy kind of part to it. So I've seen that for another bands as well. Boy, what's your favorite track on the record?
The Will Meaning to.
Well, to me.
Oh, Will to Meaning. Sorry, man. Yeah, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I don't know, like the groove, like the, I don't know, the drums, the guitars. It's like not the basic hardcore, but the groovy hardcore. You know, like I don't know. Playing the song is.
Yeah, it's just all fucking groove.
Yeah, it's like the old. Yeah, I don't know the old HAWSER, but it's HAWSER, but yeah, I don't know how to tell it, man. It's like it's a feeling, but yeah, I don't know. That's my favorite song. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely the groovy aspect of a lot of these songs is definitely apparent. I've put a number of different releases from this album on certain playlists on the Scope side. Luck of the Draw is probably one of my personal favorites. Especially some of the subtle singing aspects on it, just like feel it. That's just like one of my favorite parts. Oh, and the solo right after that. I feel like if any hardcore band has a solo, you have to have a singing chant or belt over top of that. It has to be a standard. So you guys had an interlude track on this record, and I'm trying to find what the actual name is. So it's called So it's called High Low, and I was like listening to it. I was like, this is just a lo-fi song in the middle of a hardcore like album. And
I don't know who did it. It's back at
Ruben's Mr. Amateur DJ right there. So
Ruben actually wrote it and recorded it and gave it to you guys, or how did that work?
yeah, I made it. Like I was after I left HAWSER, I was doing a punk rock band, kind of like sort of punk rock. I don't know. I wanted to do something else. And when that kind of went down the drain, I wanted to make music on my own, and I really enjoyed like the 24-hour
the chill hop stuff.
lo-fi hip hop,
Yeah.
chill hop, that kind of thing. So it's like, okay, I want to do this because it makes me feel really nostalgic and it makes me feel good. So it's like, okay, I want to get into this game, you know? And I started making lo-fi just for fun. And I kept sending it to my friends who were still in HAWSER, and they were like, okay, yeah, we want to put it on the record as an interlude. I was like, and I was like, but why?
But why? Honestly, like, I think I've never seen any hardcore band in my time here, like, ever do that. So I think you guys can say you're the first band to ever do that. So I think mad props to you guys.
And I'm glad to help.
Like,
but actually, and then Leo, the guitarist and boy, they came to my place here, and we kind of did some touch-ups on it to make it even more sad, because the original was very sad, but they wanted it more sad. So
no,
and then, I don't know, I kind of forgot about it, and then the album was released, and I was like, oh yeah, I did that.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's pretty funny because now that we're all in like the streaming aspect of consuming music, like Spotify will pick up certain songs and put them on like chaos heavy or like top breakdown songs. And I was like, this song should be in just the natural curation of like lo-fi hip hop stuff. And then hopefully someone's like, yeah, this HAWSER band's pretty cool. And then they listen to these other songs. They're like, this doesn't sound like any other. But, you know, there might be one person that finds out about it and then is into hardcore after that. So, you know, anything to bridge the gap.
Now, what was like a breaking point from the B side, the A side to the B side?
Mm.
It's like,
it's the connection there.
Yeah, the connection.
Ah, I see. No, that's really smart, especially, yeah, if someone actually has the vinyl, it ends there and then they flip it over.
Yeah, and put that yours.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's really cool. I would have never even thought about that, honestly. I have to ask about the song that has the melodic intro. I'm gonna like butcher the name, so please forgive me. It's like I tried to look it up prior to this podcast to figure out how to even pronounce it, but
it's like oorlogsmoe.
Oorlogsmoe.
Oorlogsmoe. Yeah.
Okay, that actually sounds like proper, like me not flubbing on it.
Yeah.
Oorlogsmoe. It's
Tired of war.
Yeah, tired of
war.
Yeah. It's like in English.
War tired.
War
It's
tired.
literally
okay.
war tired. I'm war tired.
Gotcha.
That's what's up.
Yeah. Well, when I did Google it, a bunch of photos of tanks came up. I was like, I'll just ask the guys when like recording. But yeah, like that track, you know, I was like, okay, everything's really heavy, groovy, bouncy. This is sick. And then that track came on, and like it's definitely, I think there are just some tracks on certain hardcore records where you're just like, okay, I need to repeat listen to this. Like it just, you know, the cycle. So I probably listened to it like 7 times over in the first go, and I think it's like it's one of my favorite tracks for sure. Have you guys done a lot of like melodic? Like I feel like the transition from the melodic intro and then first kind of part into like the heavy aspect is like really, really excellently done. So talk to me about that track specifically.
Yeah, so the reason that it's called oorlogsmoe, it means tired of war, but like there isn't an English word for it, like one word, and in Holland it is. So that's why we call it that. And yeah, about the song itself, it was supposed to be a death trap song because the Yeah,
Me and Leo basically wrote all the instrumentals to that phone.
the intro.
Yeah. Leo wrote it, and we were like
Only
hanging
the
out
clean
together.
intro, like.
But then Leo was also the guitar player for Death Trap for a little while, and then eventually like he was like just left to like focus on work and HAWSER full time. And he was like, "Y'all mind if I take that song with me?" I'm like, "Well, dude, fucking go ahead. You wrote it, you know." And honestly, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I was a little upset because I really liked that song, but then when I heard it on the fucking album for the first time with all the vocals, I was like, okay, no, they did this so much better than we would have fucking did. So and it's my favorite track too, dude. That ending is insane. It's like a great series of breakdowns. It's just like another one.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm sure a number of the people listening or watching can tell all these stories of like someone wrote a breakdown and then it actually ended up in the hands of someone else or something like that. Ironically,
Yeah.
I'll give a little plug here because I did have a couple people have actually asked. There's an intro song and an outro song to this podcast, and what that song is, it's not actually it's not a band song that I asked if I could use it or whatever. My good friend from back home, he had this joke band that we were working on. It was gonna be called Dr. Claw originally, like from
Nice.
from Go Go Gadget, but we wanted it to sound harder, so we were gonna call it Mendoza, which is, I don't know how much you guys watched The Simpsons, but he's like there's McBain, who's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger. The McBain movie. So Mendoza's like the evil guy. So all the songs were going to be named off of like the McBain movie that's hidden throughout The Simpsons. Like
Nice.
it was gonna like some tracks were called the Live Forever, which is the boat that his partner was gonna retire with his wife on, and then there's like Meeting Adjourned, which is like the line he says when he like shoots everyone. Like there's like if there's anyone who's watching or listening, definitely go to YouTube, search Simpsons McBain movie, and you'll get all these references. Yeah, but the songs that he wrote, they were just sitting in the Dropbox for years, and he got busy, had kids, and I was like, hey, can I like buy these songs off of you for this podcast? Because I just need something like kind of dummy heavy and not like overthought. And he's like, just use them. So shout out to Brent, shout out to Mendoza and the McBain movie. Is there like there's honestly so many bops. Is there any specific songs on the record that you guys recorded and you're like, yeah, this song's good, but it's not my favorite, but you know, when it was released, a lot of people were like, yo, this is the song.
Let me think. Like for me, it was Bury the Hatchet, the song with like Aaron from Jesus Peace on guest vocals as well, because I think that I wrote the intro of that song and then Leo took it from there. But I've heard it like so many times. Like we wrote that song like it was like the second or the third song that we wrote, so I've heard it like more than 1,000 times, and I was like so sick of that one song. And then we released it as a single, and the response was just amazing. Like,
yeah,
and I was like, oh yeah, maybe this song is good. Because I've heard it so many times, and I was like, yeah, maybe we should have like adjusted it, but it's actually good, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a good song, I think. Actually, the groove also, you know, like it's not that like the standard.
Like the
standard. So yeah.
Zeg het maar voor mij.
It's not your typical hardcore song. It's like a bit different.
Yeah.
Because of because you have the intro riff that is like pretty metallic hardcore. Then you have it.
And then groove it up, you know, like ding 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 ding. Yeah, I don't know.
something else I wanted to talk about on the album is the artwork is definitely very, very on point. I really appreciate when bands of the metallic hardcore, metalcore space are doing something that is a little bit different, not like what you would originally expect for that genre. So like, can you talk about who the artist is, how that came together, and how you wanted to set the tone? Because it is kind of that like,
Yeah.
judging a book by its cover in a sense. So
Yeah, like the plan of that was basically because the previous record, Tough Love, had like such an iconic cover, and the girl on the Tough Love cover is actually like the ex of Stein.
Like from the singer.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
and it's called Tough Love, so it's.
Yeah.
But they were still together when it came out.
It was not.
But so when we were talking about the cover art for Always Forgiven, we all were like, yeah, so this cover has to be like just as iconic as Tough Love. And then we were all like looking some stuff up, and then Stein came up with this painting, and it was made by a girl named Sophie from Rotterdam, and she's an artist.
Okay.
She made a lot more paintings, and Stein showed it to us, and yeah, we were all like, yo, this is fucking cool, let's fucking do this. And then we bought it off of her, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a number of great album artworks that I'm blanking on who it is, and but when N came out,
Like, what do you think of the if you see the album? What do you think of if you see the picture like of the album?
of All Is Forgiven.
Yeah.
Honestly, like when I first saw it, I was like, this doesn't seem like a hardcore record. But the more that I listened to it, I was like, okay, I understand how those things tie together.
But what I mean is like, what do you see in the picture? Like what?
Oh, what do I like actually see? Well, I think going back to like the interlude being like as sad as possible, and like some of the songs are like heavy and aggressive. There's like the tone of like the colors definitely matches, I guess, the mood of the music. But yeah, like I see a few different faces in there. I'm see if I can pull it up so I can actually like properly get. Yeah, so there's some faces. I if I had to say how many people are in it, it looks like 3.
Yeah.
Like there's 2 faces, but there looks to be an extra body in there. So
Like if it's like a hand that goes like to the neck.
yeah.
Or like I don't know, a woman or I don't know. But there was a tit on the other how do you say it?
Yeah, like the full
Yeah.
painting
Yeah.
was basically like an abstract girl with her titties out, like being like.
Yeah.
But
Way to go, Bart.
but like being grabbed around her neck by like some person
I see.
behind her. So when I first saw it, I was like thinking like, is this lust or like hate?
Oh, okay, interesting.
It's like
Yeah.
like those 2 things are like 2 totally different things, but they can also be the same. So in that way, it kind of spoke to me like also like how the record sounds. Like it's a metallic hardcore record, but it's like so much more because we all listen to like so different kind of music. We listen to hardcore, hip hop, like rock, pop,
Reggae.
you name it, reggae as well.
Yeah.
It kind of fit. So
Yeah. So when you guys got when you bought the artwork, you actually kind of zoomed in on a certain area of the. I understand. Okay. Yeah, because I was like, I don't see that there, but yeah, that makes sense. Do you guys? like I don't know if this is a too big of a question, but do you have the artwork with you, or is that live in a closet somewhere or hung up at someone's house, or where
I
is
think
it?
I have it on my phone. Wait a second, maybe.
Ja, maar echt deze art, wie heeft die echte dat kunstwerk?
Oh, Stein, sorry.
Oh,
I
it's at Stein's. Ah, okay.
Stein buying the whole
I think Stein bought like the original painting.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm blanking on the name that you said as far as the person who did it. Do you know what her handle is for anyone who's listening who wants to check out her stuff afterwards? If we're
Yeah,
at this point in the podcast, I want to see if we can get that on point so we could give
Sorry,
them
het
a
lijkt-
plug.
Yeah, it's let me look it up like real fast. It's LAIKZING on Insta. It's like
Awesome.
la la
Well,
like-
if anyone who's listening or watching is into that, we're gonna get can we get there we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
go follow her. She's awesome.
She's at 762 followers. Let's try and get the scoped army to bring her up to 800. That would be sick. Well, yeah, that is awesome. That's cool that, you know, I'm seeing that a trend with a lot of like hardcore bands is that they're actually going to like someone who painted something versus like whipped it up on Photoshop. So there's a sense of like that extra layer of authenticity there. That's really, really cool. You know, so you guys being kind of on the other side of the world as far as where I am, you know, there's like Europe is a place that I have a longing to go and experience hardcore there, whether it's a festival or even just a show on its own. So a question I had here was like, what's the best and the worst part about having, you know, being a hardcore band from where you guys are versus, you know, the general like North American like hardcore establishment?
Yeah, so like the plus side is definitely like the venues. We have pretty good venues in Europe compared to like the US. I think when you play a show here, you get more than a bit of gas money, and you have like a place to stay and some food, and a lot of venues are like also funded by like the government, especially like in Holland and in Germany and in Switzerland as well. Like if
They're
you-
subsidized, right? Subsidized, which
Yeah. Subsidized venues, which is really, really cool. I've also went to the UK a few times, and the situation there is like basically the same as the US, I guess, from what I've heard, because you play there, you get some gas money. Most of the time, they don't have food and stuff. So the venues are a plus. The downside is that like if you're from Europe, you're always labeled as like Eurocore,
Yeah,
which is like fucking stupid, because like I kind of get it, but there are like so much cool bands in Europe, like especially now, like so much bands like doing new stuff, like for instance the Worst Doubt from France.
Okay.
They're like the coolest hardcore band in Europe now. Right now, they're from Paris. They're so fucking good, and they're about to release a record. So check out The Worst Doubt.
Where's down?
But
So hard. Oh my god.
but yeah, the plus side is the venues, but the downside is like if you're a band from Europe, you will always be labeled as like Eurocore.
Yeah, unnecessary putting a collection of bands in a box that really doesn't matter, because, you know, well, first off, I've never heard of Eurocore, and if I ever hear anyone say that, I'm gonna punch them in the mouth. But
Good.
Do that.
yeah, but I do think that is fair, because I think, you know, a lot of hardcore bands are definitely like like to rep where they're from. If they're, you know, New York City hardcore or like, you know, California hardcore or even like Canadian hardcore. You know, you want to rep where you're from and promote that. Because I think a lot of people at shows specifically are like, wow, this band came all the way from Canada to play, like, you know, for these 80 people here. Like, let's go off. But it is like weird that people will, if something's not within a certain sphere, will just put that in a box. It's almost no different than people trying to, like, any, you know, girl or any femme person who is in like doing vocals in a band. It's like, you're female fronted hardcore. It's like all these bands like sound so different. So it's the same thing with you, like with Eurocore, which it sounds tacky in and out of itself, but you know,
It is.
but like there's almost like, I feel like Europeans have like a style, like just a style for some like metalcore or hardcore that just kind of goes, is just a different way of thinking that I think a lot of people in the States write their music. So, you know, I've been a big fan of like bands like Desolated for a long, long time. One of my favorite European bands is Guilt Trip from, where are they from again? From Manchester, is that right? Yeah. All the riffs, but yeah, there is a plethora of bands. You know, I've been a firm believer of like doing your homework, of like knowing the music in certain areas of the world, and you know, I have to plug David Tan, who films out in Glasgow and those areas, for putting me onto some bands that I probably otherwise wouldn't have known about. So
Good guy, man. Back Bart. Good guy. Back Bart, man. David Tan, man.
yeah,
Really, David was really cool. His old band War Chart from Scotland was fucking tight. You should check him out if you haven't checked him out yet. Look at War Chart from Scotland. You have some bangers.
definitely. Maybe one of the last question I have for you guys here is, you know, obviously it's hard to release this music and not be able to play on it immediately, but what is one of the first places that you want to play songs off All Is Forgiven when we can have shows back?
Do you mean like where? Or
Yeah, whether that's like over in the States or here in Canada, Australia. If there's a specific city and venue and band you want to play it.
Like for me, it would be definitely Gouda, because I do the hardcore shows there since 2017, and the last time we played in Gouda with HAWSER, it was with the release show of No Turning Back, and Jesus Peace also played there, and we played there, and it was a sold out show. It was fucking insane. It was April 2019, and people went fucking crazy. People were like climbing on the roof of the venue, like.
It will be definitely like a hometown show, you know.
Yeah,
I think that's the first one we want to do is that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to tour. We want to play some shows everywhere, man.
Yeah, but probably like some sort of a hometown show would be the first after.
Yeah.
This whole.
Yeah.
See all your friends, you know, make sure you're like, yeah, you're still around. That's awesome.
See all the people like that supported you like long time.
Definitely, yeah. It's not like, all right, now we can hit the road. It's like, all right, let's do the hometown thing and then go. Yeah. Well, guys, this is getting towards the end of the podcast, but the last section that we do here is a favorite mosh story. So I will let you guys decide who goes first, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a story that involved yourself. It could have just been something that you saw at a show, happened at a show while you were playing it. Whatever's like the first thing that comes to your mind, and maybe if we have enough time, we'll let the guys in the back share some stories as well.
So my favorite mosh story is probably that I was at a show in Gouda, like before I was doing the shows there, and Blind Justice and Regulate were playing there. They were on tour. It was like 2016, 2017 maybe. There were like 40 people there, and Tom, he was also there, and they were like, at the side of the stage, you had like a fucking ladder.
Oh no.
And Tom, he was just going crazy in a pit. He was like, oh yeah, those people here, they're all fucking weak, they're not fitting. So he just grabbed the ladder and like threw it around the venue. And then like the next two to four shows in Gouda, Tom would like grab the ladder. And then when he was like playing there with his own band, he like came up stage with a fucking ladder and he said, "You know what to do." And
You know what to do.
I've heard of chains being moshed with and steel chairs and things like that, but that's the first ladder story that's come on the podcast. So props to the ladder.
and you boy?
Me, I think I was 50 or something, and Terror was playing at my hometown, and it was a free show because the Queen was his birthday,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It was a free show because of the Queen's birthday? That's sick.
Yeah,
It's a holiday.
Yeah,
It's a holiday.
Yeah.
So it was like a lot of people, and I was like 15 and standing there, and it was like a lot of people, and I was
Ambulance.
the ambulance standing in the front, and people are going with noses, bleed, the teeth out of the mouth, and I think, what the fuck is happening here? And I was 15 years old, so that was for me like the crazy mosh ever, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. But maybe have Ruben a story.
Yeah, we're getting all the mosh stories on this podcast, which I am
Okay.
for. So
We went to Slovakia for the first time.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh, okay, that story. Yeah.
The first time we came to Slovakia, it's now already a famous venue for Dutch bands.
Vodka.
It's
50
the
cents.
It's the Coliseum Club. We were on I think it was a weekender or like a small tour with the guys from Riskit, and they have played there a couple of times.
Mhm.
So they're like talking to these young kids, us, like, you're not gonna believe what you're gonna see in this space. So we were like, okay, whatever, they always exaggerate. So we came through like a small hallway, and we are like, okay, this is gonna be one of those crust venues,
right.
It was already cold and like wet, and I don't know. And we came out of like this small hallway, and we came into this huge place, which reminded me of the underground space where the vampires chill in Blade. Like a real gothic club kind of thing.
People are hanging upside down.
I don't know. It was crazy. And so these guys tell me, yeah, these people have the craziest pit ever. And we're like, okay, whatever, And the moment we walk in, the first band starts playing, and the only thing I see is fireworks going off inside the venue.
Oh my gosh.
Someone he was like wearing, like, it was a gothy kind of guy, and he was wearing this like long ass like leather jacket, but it was a synthetic leather jacket, and it caught on fire because of the fireworks. But he was still going in the circle pit.
He just did full Fantastic Four Human Torch, just flame on and just started pitting.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, there were like people who were on like they do like a mountain bike kind of thing, and they were like throwing their chains around the venue. I saw a tree trunk get thrown through the place.
A tree trunk?
Yeah.
This is the most random shit you can imagine.
It's I don't know.
I thought ladder would be the weirdest thing, but someone literally pulled a tree from the earth and just.
They do.
Push the envelope here over in Europe.
If you want to have a good time in Europe, come to Slovakia.
Okay, well, everyone take notes for that.
I got one last mosh story for you, if that's okay.
Yeah. Hopefully, the bar is set pretty high, so no pressure.
We are high level with the mosh.
Oh, this is just it's more of a painful story, but so it was 2014, and I was on my way to Eberfest, which is like a Belgian hardcore festival, and it's like in Europe it's a pretty big deal. And this was going to be the reunion show for No Warning, the first show in 10 years. This was the big one,
Yeah.
I was fucking hyped, man. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be it. So first night of the festival, Friday night, I'm there in my stupid little outfit and my stupid little fucking, I was there, and dude, the show starts. It's mind blowing. Fucking Ben Cook comes on stage with a bottle of champagne, like, thanks for the money, fuckers. And just like, it's the most fucking balls out cool no warning show the world has ever seen.
Yeah.
And then fourth song comes on, Short Fuse. And of course it's fucking Short Fuse, and you know exactly what I'm talking about when that song, when it hits near the end, and exactly when it hits, I was just like, oh my God, I'm gonna do my little dance. I get in the pit. I get 2 fucking swings in, and I'm like, looking to my right, I'm like, oh, that's a flying elbow. In 3, 2, bah! And just some guy just fucking Macho Man Randy Savage me in the fucking face. I'm just like, you get hit and you're bleeding, or you check to bleed if you're bleeding, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like there's blood. I wipe, and in 2 seconds, I'm covered in blood. I'm like, fuck. So I know my tattoo artist is somewhere in that crowd. I know he's a fucking he used to be a fighter. So like, okay, he could assist the damage. So I find him. I'm like, Hans, how do I look? And his eyes just go really wide. He's like, dude, you should go to fucking first aid right now. Yeah. I'm like, oh. So I grab a friend. I run to the fucking first aid, and it's bad when everybody starts rushing. You come in, they're like, oh yeah, sit down. I'm like,
yeah. Make way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, fuck, why is my vision like 50% of this size? So I get a mirror and I'm looking. My fucking eyebrow was split perfectly down the entire length of my eyebrow, and it's hanging down my fucking face. It's just a hole where my eyebrow was supposed to be. I was like, I'm hideous. And I'm hearing No Warning playing the most epic set they'll ever play. Outside the tent, they're like, well, you're going to have to go to the hospital, sir. And that's the first time I ended up in a hospital. And 3 hours later, I'm back in my tent with just stitches in my head, tons of fucking Band-Aids. The rest of the weekend just moshing really defensively, just like, fucking, yeah, this is great.
Wow.
Yeah. Still me.
I was straight up like, oh yeah, we set the bar pretty high, but that was so have you had any vision issues since that, or?
Oh no, dude, it was literally just because my eyebrow was like hanging down half my face.
It was
blocking my vision.
Damn.
I know. But thankfully no scar. I'm still handsome, so.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you getting up and demonstrating, where the collision was.
Of course, dude, I gotta tell the story right or not at all,
Yeah. Well, guys, this has been a blast. Definitely a great start to my weekend, and I hope you guys had a blast as well. Is there anything you guys want to plug? Anywhere that you want to send people after this podcast is done? Where to listen to music? How to order stuff? The floor is yours for whatever you want to share.
Check out The Worst Out from France, Dead Trap from Holland, and Void Crawler from Holland. If you want to buy some stuff, head over to evilgreed.net and Deadwish in the US if you want to cop some stuff.
Shaver.
Oh yeah, shout out to Shaver. I don't know.
Germany.
A band from Germany, they're fucking tight as well.
Cool.
Especially live, which makes me extra sad because I can't see them now.
Well, you guys have given me a plethora of new UK bands to check out. And I don't say this just because we're on the podcast here together, but like I said at the beginning, All Is Forgiven is definitely within my top 10 of records, hardcore-wise, that was released this year. Really excited that is in my radar, and I'm stoked to see what you guys do next. And I hope one day, we can cross paths where I can capture a HAWSER set, whether it's
we play together at the end game.
Yeah. That would be insane. That would be a treat. So, yeah. Thank you guys for coming on the podcast. This was a blast.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for having us.
It was fun.